Are you having any issues when it comes to dialing in your camera settings when it comes to live streams? Well, then this video's for you. Stay tuned. Welcome to Live Streaming Tech, and if you want to learn to stream like a pro, make sure you click that subscribe button and turn that bell notification on so you don't miss a single video. I have a question for you, and you can leave this down in the comments. What type of camera do you use to live stream, and what kind of issues are you running into? Dale on this video is going to show you how to dial in camera settings for live streaming. I have had issues with this for years. I'm constantly changing cameras and constantly bugging my brother Dale to come into my live streams or watch the past live streams to give me critique on my camera settings. And even if you go back to some of these older YouTube videos on this channel, you'll see that I've still struggled with camera settings. So let's have Dale show us how it's done. Take it away, Dale.
Live streaming shouldn't be too difficult. In fact, it should be fun and easy. And if you take a few of these camera tips for live streaming, it'll make it that much easier for you. Stick around to the end because I'm going to show you a little ninja trick when it comes to your camera placement. That way you can really look like a pro. Now let's cover 4 ideal tips when it comes to your camera. Know your limitations. Can you control the settings on your camera? So if you've got a webcam, for instance, like the one I'm currently using, or if you're using, say, iPhone, you'll know whether or not you're going to be able to utilize your camera. Either way, we want to be able to get into the settings, and there are a few things you want to dial in. Saturation, contrast, brightness, and sharpness. Now, based on whatever type of camera you might have, you may not have all of those things, but if you can at least get your hands on saturation, you can really start to boost up a little bit of the colors and make it pop up off the screen. So for instance, I kicked up the saturation a bit on this particular video here, but in the same instance, if I have more light, I may have to kick it back a little bit or kick back the brightness and kick up the saturation. You're going to need to play around with it based on your particular settings. Now, if you have no control over your settings in your camera and you're, say, for instance, using a flip phone or something else crazy like that for your live streams, then you're probably going to be a little shackled to whatever you have. So take these next tips to heart. Framing. When you're framing yourself in your live streams, it's super important that you pay attention to where you are in the particular frame. And what we talk about in the industry are thirds. It's how you break up the screen into thirds, something like this, 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 and this. So you have a little bit of a grid and you want to make yourself somewhat in the middle if you could. If you're offset slightly, that's okay. I typically like to go a little bit offset because some reason it just helps pop and it makes it to where you can draw your eyes in as a viewer to me as the speaker. Furthermore, when you're framing yourself out, know where your camera is going to go ahead of time. We don't want to have it down below to where you look like you're lording over your viewers, but you don't want to have it too high to where you're looking way up. I typically like to go just a little bit above eye level when I'm shooting out live streams. It works a little bit easier, and also if you're, for instance, a gamer of some sort, you can actually keep the game just below your camera and you're not lording over your viewers. The lighting. You need to keep your lighting simple yet effective. You don't want to have anything too bright because it's going to wash you out, and you don't want to have anything too dark because it's going to make your stream look like it's all grainy and like you're coming from a cave. A few recommendations I give to you, first of all, is going to be ambient lighting. Ambient lighting is essentially anything that's coming from the outside. So if you have any kind of windows, I'd highly recommend you just open the windows up because sometimes the best light is just natural light. That doesn't cost a dime. So I highly recommend anytime you're doing a live stream, if you have the discretionary space where it has the windows in it, open them on up and get it to where people can kind of see you. Now, if you don't have ambient lighting, or maybe the ambient lighting is not enough, consider these other 2 options. There's box and umbrella lights, or even LEDs. So for me, I'm using an LED. It's really small, it's compact, and it really packs a punch, and it didn't cost me too much. For my brother, he uses the box lights and umbrella lights. Actually, was a bit of a hand-me-down. I sent those to him because I really wanted something a bit more compact. Know your space, because if you have a limited amount of space, you don't want to have gigantic box lights and umbrella lights taking up all the space, because you're going to have to probably take it down, disassemble it, put it away, put it back up every single time you're doing live streaming. For me, I just kind of grab my LEDs, have it fully charged, set it on up, and I get going. Now, if you're really strapped for cash, you can always use what's at your means. Of course, you know, any things like lamps, or even a good friend of mine, Steve Gamlin, had recommended getting a shop light. You don't want to go too high wattage, something that's probably like 60 watts or less, and then put any type of wax paper over top of it. And what the wax paper is going to do, it's going to help cast a softer light out. So that's probably one of the best uses of a cheap resource. The scenery. Background is everything, okay? So listen, folks, don't go streaming if you've got a messy, unmade bed, clothes are piled everywhere, you got a closet door open and who knows what's lurking back inside there, or you're a hoarder who's got mountains of clothes. If you've got scenery like that behind you, the viewers are going to eventually be distracted by a lot of that background noise. You want to have a little bit of scenery that can kind of dazzle the eyes and gets it to where people still focus on you as the person speaking, but also gets it to where when they start to disengage, they don't completely disengage. So if you look inside my background, from time to time you see the lava lamp over here, and then you see the little snow globe lamp over here, and then you got a couple of like artsy looking pictures behind me and some things that are relevant to me. And I would really recommend to you as a live streamer, think about what you can present to the world that's a little bit of your personality. And it kind of starts a little bit of conversation, because from time to time when I place a book in the background, might be another author's book, and some people will say, hey, what is that? Or that author might even come into my stream and say, wow, that's so cool, I got to see my book. So think about some ways that you can kind of build a set around who you are as a person. Additional ideas is add in some good colors, great colors to help pop. You don't want to go too over the top, obviously, but you want to have just enough to get it to where you're covering up any type of blank walls or anything that just looks boring, or for that matter, just having a room behind you that is all messy. Consider getting some good delicate brightness with some LEDs. LEDs are relatively inexpensive. I know that this rope light over here ran me probably all of like $10 over at Big Lots. You could probably price around and find some great LED lights that you can kind of set up, and it pays off in due time, because it's just kind of a delicate way to kind of keep your audience's attention and get it to where it looks more exciting. And if you have no other resources, nothing out there that you can do, here's the last ditch effort. And this is actually something that my brother uses quite a bit, and you'll even see it in some of his videos, is he actually has a green screen background. So, you know, he shares his space with some others in his family, so he doesn't want to be showing off everybody else inside the room. So what he does is he sets up a green screen of some sort. Now you're probably saying, oh Dale, green screens, I can't afford something like that. Au contraire, you can literally go over to, like, say Walmart or any kind of a fabric store of some sort, and you can probably get just like a few yards of green or chroma key style fabric. And it doesn't need to be perfect. Just get yourself a nice bright green. Look up the term chroma key green and you'll be able to see the exact type. It's kind of a neon green. And that can be dialed out with something like Streamlabs OBS or even the OBS Studio. You can pull that green out and you can insert any type of background and keep people's attention. Worst case scenario, let's say you're like, man, I don't have any money. I just can't afford something like this. Look around, see if you can find any type of green you can put behind you, because that green is going to be able to get pulled out. Big key here, and we'll probably talk about this in another video, make sure that you're not wearing anything green, because otherwise when you go to chroma key and pull that out, it's going to take out your whatever you're wearing. Before we jump into the bonus tip, if you've live streamed before, I definitely would love to hear what advice you would give to newbies. Do you agree with some of the information that I have given so far? I would love to hear from you and tell me what you see a lot of newbie live streamers doing wrong when it comes to cameras. Drop it right on down into the comments. Now for the bonus tip. Place the camera and chat together. This is going to be a bit more problematic when it comes to gamers, because obviously if I've got my camera right above my monitor and I'm gaming here on the part below it, then I'm probably not going to be able to keep the chat close. Here's the beauty of doing live streaming: being able to connect with your viewers instantaneously. And a lot of people are going to bounce out if you aren't at least acknowledging them in some capacity. Unless you're a really, really good gamer and you're able to bring people in, I just would really highly recommend that you try to get it to where the chat is as close to your camera as possible, so that way you can continue to manage that eyeball to eyeball contact and you can see it off to the corner. In fact, actually, one of the nice apps out there, it's called Restream.io. We actually have a feature of putting chat to where it's right over top of things and it doesn't get in the way. You can actually kind of make it a little bit transparent. And if you want to get a better idea as to what webcam I'm currently using, it's called the Logitech Brio 4K. My brother actually did an unboxing not too long ago, and I want you to go ahead and take a look at that video. I'll see you over there.
It's actually nestled in the box, nice and pretty. Let's see if we can't get a good shot of that. Has the little plastic thing on.